Okay, ready to dive into something a little different. We're tackling Mark Manson's The Subtle Art of Not Giving a Fuck today.
Definitely not your typical self-help book.
Right. It's provocative, funny, but it really makes you think about success and happiness in a whole new way.
And that's why it's resonated with so many people.
Exactly. So we're going to unpack some of those aha moments for you today. Get ready to walk away with something to think about.
I think it's safe to say this book throws the whole good vibes only approach out the window, right?
Yeah, totally. In fact, Manson argues that our culture's obsession with always being positive is actually what makes us miserable.
It's true. Think about it. We're so busy chasing some perfect version of happiness that we avoid the stuff that actually gives life meaning. You know, the struggles, the challenges.
Like trying to become a concert pianist without, practicing those scales.
Wow.
Speaking of which, Manson actually brings up a fascinating example, the writer Charles Bukowski.
Yeah, Bukowski totally owned his flaws. I mean, he was an alcoholic, he was a womanizer, wrote about it all, honestly.
And that rawness, that realness, is what made his writing so powerful.
Exactly. He wasn't trying to fit some perfect mold, and that's what drew people to him.
It makes you think about the people we admire. Chances are they've faced their own share of struggles. They've come out stronger on the other side.
Totally. Which is why Manson says instead of asking yourself, what do I want out of life? You should be asking,
How's that?
what pain am I willing to sustain?
Ooh, what pain am I willing to sustain? That's a powerful question. It's about acknowledging that the journey matters just as much as the destination.
Exactly. And being brutally honest with yourself about what you're willing to sacrifice to get there.
It's like mapping out the whole climb, not just picturing yourself at the summit.
Yes. And speaking of journeys, Manson uses his own experience to illustrate this point. He loves playing guitar.
What does he?
Yeah, but he realized he didn't love the constant practice, the hustle for gigs, the rejections, all the stuff that comes with actually trying to make it as a musician.
It's like those highlight reels we see everywhere, right? We all imagine ourselves celebrating at the finish line, but...
But not many people think about all the sweat and the setbacks it takes to get there.
So how do we figure out what we're actually willing to put in the work for? How do we know which struggles are the right ones to focus on?
Well, that's where it gets really interesting.
Okay, so struggling is important if you want to grow. But then Manson throws us a curveball. He comes right out and says, you are not special.
Yeah, he doesn't sugarcoat it.
Feels a little harsh at first, right?
Hey,
Especially in a self-help book.
it does, but he has a point.
Yeah.
This whole everyone gets a trophy mentality can actually hold us back in the long run.
How so?
Well, he's not saying you're not capable of great things. He's just saying that this sense of entitlement, like we deserve success without the hard work, that's what gets in the way.
I see. So expecting a reward without putting in the work.
Exactly. He actually tells this great story about Jimmy, this wannabe entrepreneur, to illustrate his point.
What's Jimmy's deal? Why is his story so relatable?
So Jimmy's convinced he has this $1 million idea, but the guy's all talk, no action. He's living off his parents, totally lost in these fantasies of grandeur, thinks he deserves to be a huge success without putting in the effort or risking failure.
The struggle is real, I guess.
And to top it off, we're constantly bombarded by everyone else's highlight reels on social media, right?
Just tell me about it. It's like everyone's killing it 24/7.
Exactly. And it's easy to fall into that comparison trap, feeling like we're not good enough. But remember, social media is just a highlight reel, not the whole story.
So true. So we've got to embrace our struggles, ditch the special snowflake act, and then Manson gets even deeper. He starts questioning our deeply held values. Like, even those can be flawed.
It's a really interesting concept. He tells this story about a journalist who has this incredibly vivid memory about her father. Turns out she was wrong. Totally fabricated the memory.
Whoa, seriously. So she didn't just misremember. She created a whole false memory.
Yep. And this is his point. Our beliefs can actually shape how we see the world. We tend to gravitate towards information that confirms what we already believe, even if those beliefs are, a little shaky.
That's kind of scary when you think about it.
Right. And that's where Manson's law of avoidance comes in. The more something threatens who we think we are, the more we avoid it. Have you ever been there? Clinging to a belief even when the evidence says otherwise?
Yes, all the time. Like they say, you can't teach an old dog new tricks. We can get pretty attached to our opinions. So how do we escape this trap, this clinging to potentially flawed values?
Well, Manson says we need to get comfortable with being wrong sometimes.
Easier said than done.
For sure. But he's not saying we should aim to be wrong. It's about being less wrong over time. being open to changing our minds when we get new information.
Being less wrong. I like that. Takes the pressure off having all the answers all the time.
Exactly. And this ties back into taking action. Manson calls it the do something principle. He says that we often wait to feel motivated before we do something, but
But
he believes action often comes before motivation.
so you don't wait for the perfect moment, you just start.
Exactly. Just start doing something, anything to get the ball rolling.
So it's better to try and fail than to not try at all.
He would say so. He even argues that sometimes a little discomfort, maybe even some pain, can be a good thing.
Wait, pain could be a good thing. How so?
He doesn't mean we should go looking for pain, of course, but experiencing setbacks, discomfort, it can force us to look at our values, really confront them, and then make changes.
So it's about learning from those tough experiences.
Exactly. It's about coming out stronger on the other side.
Okay, so embrace the struggle, be okay with being wrong, and take action, even if it means getting a little uncomfortable. This is where the not giving a fuck part comes in. Choosing what really matters and letting go of the rest.
You got it. And one of the most powerful ways to do this is by mastering the art of saying no.
So we've got to master the art of saying no. Got it. But this is where Manson takes us on a bit of a detour. He starts talking about, well, death? Kind of a heavy topic, right?
It does seem like a bit of a leap, but it's where everything comes together. He actually brings in this other writer, Ernest Becker, who coined this term immortality projects.
Immortality projects. Okay, you've got to explain this one.
So Becker's argument was, since we humans are terrified of death, we create these projects, our values, ambitions, legacies,
Okay.
like ways to leave our mark on the world. It could be building a family, a company, creating some incredible work of art, anything really that makes us feel like we'll outlive our physical selves.
Like a legacy, something that outlives us.
Exactly. It's a way for us to grapple with our mortality, to find meaning, even though we know we won't live forever.
I can see that. So how does this tie back to not giving a fuck?
Well, Manson's point is, these immortality projects can easily turn into traps. We get so focused on chasing external validation, on building that legacy, that we forget to actually live our lives.
Well, I see. So we're so busy trying to create this perfect life, this perfect legacy, that we miss out on the present moment.
Exactly. And haven't you ever felt that pressure to achieve something big, something lasting, something more?
All the time. It's easy to get caught up in that cycle, right? Always striving for the next milestone. But how do we reconcile that very human need to feel significant with, actually enjoying the journey?
That's the million-dollar question. And Manson actually uses a really personal story to illustrate his point. He talks about losing a close friend and how that forced him to really confront his own mortality.
Wow, that must have been incredibly difficult.
It was, for sure. But he realized that accepting our own mortality, as painful as it is, can also be freeing.
Freeing how?
Well, it helps us cut through all the BS, all the things we think we should care about, and focus on what really matters. It helps us choose values that are true to ourselves, not just some arbitrary idea of legacy.
So we're not just chasing some abstract idea of success anymore.
Right. It becomes about what brings meaning to your life here and now. And that leads us to this powerful question that Manson asks. What if, instead of trying to be perfect, we just focused on being a little less wrong every day?
I love that. A little less wrong each day. It's
Yeah.
like taking all the pressure off. We don't have to have it all figured out.
Exactly. It's about acknowledging we're all works in progress. It's about progress, not perfection.
So to wrap things up, it sounds like Manson's message is about defining success on your own terms. It's about embracing those imperfections, the struggles, and focusing on the choices we make every single day.
Absolutely. It's about letting go of the need to be perfect and embracing the messy, beautiful journey of being human.
Couldn't have said it better myself.